Millions of people every day spend thousands of dollars on trying to straighten their teeth and fix their bites. In general, if there's a certain amount of crowding, each person has two options to consider: extraction versus expansion. Today I'm gonna review some videos and the comment sections related to expansion, because everybody wants to expand these days, with the plan to debunk some myths and give you the secret insider orthodontic scoop. Let's go. This video I found related to Invisalign Journey Palatal Expander Life Update. Let's see what this is all about.
This is my removable expander and I am doing Invisalign, so I'm going to update you all why I have this expander and telling you a little bit about it. So if you're interested, go ahead and subscribe.
Well, that was a good reminder. Please subscribe to the channel so that I can be the one to tell you all you need to know about expanders and orthodontic treatment. Moving, straightening teeth, and fixing bites.
This is my new removable expander. The reason I got this one is because the old one was giving me a lot of problems, so my orthodontist recommended that they would make my own mold of a removable expander. So it would sit in my mouth like so, and so this would be at the top of my roof and my tongue would sit under here. Here, as you can see, it is a soft plastic. Nothing up here can possibly poke or like cut the tongue, which was the problem I was having before.
Okay, there is a great view of what we call a removable expander. Now, you have to be careful because palate expander can mean one of two things. In the very technical sense, when you talk about an orthodontic palatal expander, we are typically referring to the upper jawbone. The maxilla is made up of two general segments or sections that fuse together right in the middle. And when you use a palatal expander, you are literally trying to split the palate bone. The two bones that come together, they fuse in the center and they create a suture. And over time, that suture becomes very mature. So a palatal expander, in a very technical sense, could mean that you're trying to do something where you split the palate bone, the bones of your upper jaw. In another sense, palate expansion could mean loose sense. You're spreading out the palate. Well, this right here is your palate. So if you widen the space between your teeth here and here, whether or not you actually separate the bone, you are expanding your palate, or you're widening that arch form, but it's not the same thing as splitting your palatal suture.
It would sit like this on the top of my roof, and I can remove it when I eat and when I brush my teeth, which is a huge plus.
Okay, so that is a big deal, right? People want things that can come in and out because it's just maybe more convenient, whether that's retainers, rubber bands, Invisalign, all those things can come in and out. But the question is, if you're taking it out all the time, or even part of the time, is it going to be as effective as if you had it in all of the time? Days.
With this expander, I do still have to turn it every 3
days.
But the good thing is that I'm able to do it myself.
That's true. With removable expanders, usually you can do it yourself. Let me just be honest with you. The older we get, the more mature our bone, our jawbone is. And so that suture that goes down the middle, because of all the intertwined bone segments, it makes it really hard to split. And this type of expander, and most of the expanders that are used for teenagers and young children attached to the teeth, they don't actually screw into the bone. They just get glued to the teeth, or in this case, right, it just, those metal pieces grab onto the teeth. And so you're just pushing against the teeth. You're trying to get the bone to change by putting the force on the teeth. This type of device, when you use it on an adult or even an older child, again, the question is, can you predictably get those forces that you need to try and separate the suture if you're trying to fix something like a crossbite? If you're just trying to spread the teeth out, right, expand the palate by making the teeth go out, then yes, maybe this can help. And maybe it could do a predictable job just pushing the teeth. You're just pushing the teeth out like that, flaring the teeth.
And so I just easily am able to put it in my mouth and push it up, and it's as simple as that. It does still like make talking a little bit difficult, but that's because I just put it in right now for the day, so I get used to it.
Yeah, regardless of if you have some expander that's glued in place or you can take it in and out, anytime you have something like that, retainer, Invisalign, you might notice a lisp at first. Gotta talk through that. Practice lots of talking.
I would 10 out of 10 recommend a removable expander. I'm not sure why everyone doesn't get a removable expander, or if that's an option for everyone.
Hello, this is why you come to the orthodontist, okay? Listen, there is, gets me kind of worked up, just a little bit, okay? But maybe people don't know this, and that's why I'm here. Okay, remember, subscribe to the channel. You have options, right? The orthodontist can't force you to do anything. You just go to another orthodontist. Same thing with the dentist. right? If you don't like what they're talking about, go to somebody else. So there are options, but the options don't change whether or not a certain technique is predictable in the outcome that's desired. So if the question here, why would anybody ever get something that's glued in place instead of just getting a removable device? Well, at least two major reasons. One, a removable device can come in and out. So if you're trying to do that on a young child, or sometimes even adults, if you can't keep it in the mouth, it's not going to work as effectively to get you the outcome that you want. So that's compliance, right? You've got to be compliant with something that's removable. Second is when it's removable like that, it may not be able to distribute or apply the same kind of force to the teeth and then to the bone in order to get these to separate. And this is particularly important for older individuals as we get into our middle to late teenage years and then early adulthood. It's just near impossible to try and actually get the suture of the upper jawbone to separate if that's what you're going for. Anybody can get an expander just to tip the teeth out, but if you're actually trying to make the bone, separate the bone and make that wider in addition to tipping the teeth out, then having a removable device like this when you're that old, not predictable. You might end up just not getting the results that you want.
I feel like I've noticed with having it for a month, it has expanded my mouth because my mouth used to be really small. And I feel like now my smile, I can see that my mouth has expanded.
Again, in this case, more than likely, because of her age, she's not talking about splitting the bone. She's talking about making her teeth wider. This arch form right here, an expander, right, or braces can do the same thing in this case, because we're just tipping the teeth out to make it look wider, a wider arch. Let's check out what these comments have to say. I'm so glad that you're the same age as me and can get your jaw expanded. I need to find a dentist like yours in London. Again, anybody can get their teeth expanded. And maybe this part of the teeth where the teeth sit in the bone, that is considered part of the jawbone too, but it's just not the same part of the jawbone that gets split apart. I have a crossbite, so I have to get palate expansion 2 and Thayer 22 as well. It's just unlikely to get that kind of bone change, okay? Sorry, I didn't know that retainer style removal expanders exist. That is correct, and probably because they're just not as effective. So most of the time, orthodontists don't use those. They're asking for how many millimeters your palate expanded. Listen, you can only expand your teeth, right? You can only push them out so far because, like I said, right, the teeth, you know what they're inside? They're inside bone. What covers the bone? The tissue. If you push your teeth outside the bone or through the bone, eventually the gum tissue comes down. So expansion is not unlimited. If there's a limitation to how far you can go, then if there's a certain amount of crowding, expansion might not be an option for you. It is difficult to find videos of people talking about their experience and results using expanders as an adult. That's because adults don't get expanders. If you want to expand an adult, you need to consider getting screws as part of the expander or surgery because the bones just don't change predictably. Now, does that mean there's no exceptions to the rule? No. But if you want to try as an adult, it's probably gonna be really painful and there's a good chance it's not gonna work. Do you have an expander for the lower jaw or will it expand naturally if the upper jaw is expanded? You know what, in theory, they said that if you expand the top jaw, those bottom teeth would just kind of tip out. I see where you're coming from here with this question, very smart, but maybe it doesn't always happen. And so when we're talking about the lower jaw too, right? The lower jaw is even more hard to expand. And what I mean by that is you can't take this lower jawbone, you can't see it here, right? But our lower jawbone, the mandible, you can't take it and split it down the middle unless you cut it in half. And so what we're talking about, when people talk about expanding, they're talking about taking the teeth where they're at in this alveolar process, the part of the bone, and tipping it out. How much do you wear it? How much do you expand? Usually, right, if you're doing a removable expander, it's probably gonna take longer to get the same kind of tipping as you would if you did a glued in device. So let's go to our next video.
I've heard that expansion doesn't work in adults, but the truth is we do it here all the time. So everybody kind of thinks that all the sutures in your head fuse when you're an adult and that they can't be moved. The truth is that those sutures, they get a little bit more squiggly and it takes a little bit longer for them to kind of, you know, loosen up and start to move, but we can get them to move.
I have to disagree. The squiggliness that she's talking about is that interdigitation. They become locked in. Again, maybe there are exceptions to the rules, but in general, based on growth and development and the research out there, you just can't get that same kind of sutural separation in an adult as predictably as you can with a young child. Guys, I'm telling you, orthodontists, we don't find pleasure in telling people that they have to go get surgery to separate their bones if they have like a really narrow upper jawbone. And in order to fix a crossbite, when we're talking predictability of outcome, based on growth and development, like years and years, hundreds of years of growth and development studies, that suture in the maxilla. The older you get, the harder it is to separate. Could you separate it? Yes, you can through surgery. Otherwise, just putting pressure on that can be very painful and it might not separate. What you get is you get bending of the bone, right? This bone where the teeth set, right? This part of the bone up here, the alveolar process, teeth set in that bone. It's connected to the maxilla, the two palate bones, right, that fuse together, and you just can't get that separated the same way. These parts right here where the teeth is, they just tip out, and so yes, you can get tipping in adults. But as far as sutural separation in adults, look, that's just not true. I disagree. Otherwise, like I said, orthodontists would be expanding adults all the time. We don't find joy in sending people for surgery and extractions.
So we're not just flaring teeth and making it look like we make space in your mouth. We're actually moving teeth and bone, growing new bone, and creating a lot more space in your mouth.
Those are some serious claims. This is a general dentist who doesn't do orthodontic. Now, I'm not saying orthodontists know everything. I'm just saying that we have studied a lot as it relates to moving teeth and modifying bones, facial bones.
So we create space width-wise, so to make your mouth look wider, but we're also creating space and moving everything forward. And so a lot of people might have sleep breathing problems, they might have sleep apnea. So we address those things by making your mouth bigger and making the airway that is right behind your mouth wider as well.
There's a lot of things going on in there. So they try to make things wider and bring things forward. Again, very tricky. Maybe when you're a young child, okay? We're talking about an underbite. When your teeth are like this. That has been shown through many, many studies that in order to bring that upper jaw forward, okay, you've got to be really young, or you've got to consider some sort of surgery. Maybe 11 to 14, you can add screws into your bones and you can still try to pull it forward a little bit. But once you get past that point, if you're trying to do the same thing, just pull it forward, rubber bands, that's not gonna work. You're gonna have to go through something like surgery to actually see change. Sleep apnea. This is a serious medical condition, or at least it can be. Not all sleep apnea has medical consequences. You can have mild sleep apnea that doesn't necessarily affect your medical health. It could be more of an annoyance, but the really severe kind, right, that can lead to major heart problems and can be fatal. If you're that severe, you probably need to see somebody besides an orthodontist or a dentist. You probably need to look into like your ENT who deals with the airway, and they have devices. Not that you can't use an oral appliance. Really severe sleep apnea, you might consider surgery to actually bring your jaws forward. When we talk about doing that here, we'd like to see the data. Show the x-rays that have the bones moving. Appreciate the insight here, but I don't agree with what we're saying. You just can't expand palatal bone, adult bone, in any predictable way. And as far as bringing things forward, same thing. Unlikely in adults, very unlikely. Let's see what the comments are. I'm doing this myself without any dentist. Bought a Schwartz expander and it's transformed the way I breathe already, not to mention uncrowding the teeth. Very interesting, a Schwartz appliance, one of those little bottom expanders, right? That's typically what we talk about, a lower Schwartz. I guess if they're talking about an upper Schwartz, right? Just some sort of removable expander to spread teeth out. Listen, if you're spreading your teeth out on the bottom, don't do that. You don't want to go into a crossbite. That'd be bad. How do you find an orthodontist willing to do an palate expander for me? Everyone I ask says it doesn't work for adults. I'm 21. Guys, that's gotta mean something. Orthodontists aren't perfect, but we know some things about bones and teeth. And if the majority of orthodontists, if not all the orthodontists, are saying that it doesn't work, it's probably because it's so unpredictable. It can be a bad experience for you, where you feel like you waste your money, super painful, you don't get the results that you want. What's up with these dentists and orthodontists not being able to think outside the box? They lack intelligence to say one size fits all. They are afraid to pull teeth and give expanders to adults. If the people ask for it, give it. Well, listen, not everybody can be expanded, right? Teeth can be widened, but not everybody can be expanded down the middle. So, hope this helps. Enjoy the video, subscribe to the channel, share this with a friend, or come find us in McKinney and Anna, Texas. We can talk about your options for expansion. That's all I got, just a little PFOing so you know where you're going. Packard out.